Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online Series 10 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we're trying out a really cool team featuring Necrozma Dong Wings. This was built by two players, Philip and Teen Spirit, and it was submitted to me by them, so huge shout outs to them. I've linked their Twitters down in the description below. And yeah, it's a really cool team revolving around Necrozma Dong Wings as well as Torkoal and Lilligant. So Necrozma is really interesting. It's obviously got, same typing as Lunala and pretty similar to, the other Necrozma. And it's basically a little bit slower than Lunala and a little bit more offensive. So more optimized for Trick Room, basically, because of its slower base speed. So the idea with this team is obviously you have a Trick Room component. You've got Necrozma, Stakataka, Indeedee, Torkoal. Mienshao with the Eject Pack here is really cool as well, because what you can do is just close combat, set up Trick Room, and then go from there. It also features Torkoal plus Lilligant. This was a really dominant duel throughout the years in VGC, especially VGC 2007, or 2017, not 07. And it's really fun because Lilligant can use After You with Torkoal as well as threaten with Sleep Powder. So it's kind of like a pseudo Venusaur, right? But After You is really its main competitive advantage. After You plus Torkoal is really deadly, and if you think about it, Lilligant, once you're in the sun, outspeeds everything, even Regieleki, which is really valuable. And the other thing to note here is that Torkoal is, the slowest Pokemon, or one of the slowest Pokemon in the format, but when you have an extra Lilligant, you actually get that After You, it basically becomes the fastest Pokemon. So the cool thing about this Torkoal is you don't need to rely on Trick Room necessarily. You can either lead Lilligant Torkoal, or have it in the late game, or set up Trick Room with Necrozma, and then bring Torkoal out and just sweep with Eruption. Choice Specs Torkoal just hits for a ridiculous amount of damage and is so strong into the format. You do have to be careful a little bit with it because there are a lot of wide guard users running around in the format right now, and if you use a spread attack as they wide guard and you get locked into it, things can get really awkward. So that's one thing to pay attention to. But overall, the goal generally is to either, apply early pressure with Lilligant Torkoal, then maybe set up Trick Room, or just set up Trick Room early on with Necrozma and then go from there. Necrozma just does a ton of damage, and even though you have, 4 times weaknesses to Ghost and Dark, your ability will help you out a lot here. And so normally, Calyrex Shadow Rider teams are pretty scary, but you've got Wide Guard here on Stakataka, Wide Guard on Mienshao, so both of those help out a lot against against Calyrex. Indeedee for redirection is valuable as well. You've got the Goggles on Indeedee that just gives you a safer switch into Amoonguss potentially if you go into it. So overall, this team has a lot of fun stuff. We haven't used Eject Pack before, really ever on a team on the channel, I think, so that's cool. Also wanted to feature just Necrozma Dong Wings in general. This is probably the best way to run it. You can maybe drop one of the moves like Expanding Force for a filler, but with Indeedee on the team, I think it just makes so much sense for maximum damage output. And then Lilligant Torkoal is something that I haven't used yet in this format, and I think is actually very underrated at the moment. Also because Lilligant's just very good into a lot of restricted Pokemon. Grass Knot in itself does large amounts of damage into things like Kyogre, Groudon. You can chip away at things like Xerneas and just all the heavy restricted Pokemon as well. And then Psychic Seed Stakataka, always really fun, specifically very valuable into Xerneas. Of course, other special attackers as well, but Xerneas teams, like you've got Wide Guard, you've got the Psychic Seed. It's funny because even with that, it's not a guaranteed counter into Xerneas because you can't switch in that easily, but it certainly helps a little bit in the matchup. So thanks to the creators for the team. Details in the description below, including a rental and a paste courtesy of them. Thanks to you all as always for watching. If you enjoy, please show your support by leaving a like in the video. I really appreciate it. And question of the day, we're about a month into Series 10 officially. I just want to know what your general opinion of Series 10 is, or if you have any, takes on the format or any Pokemon in general, or just any discussion. So let me know in the comment section below. For me, I think we're going to see more creativity as the weeks go on. In the earlier weeks, everyone was, trying out Rillaboom and Zin, just the classic support mons, but you can see now that there are a lot of really cool top tier teams that don't actually feature a lot of the, common Pokemon that are typically splashed onto teams. And once again, like I said, before the format even started, I think a format like this really allows for non-restricted Pokemon niche picks to really thrive. And so we've been able to feature a lot of those on the channel already. We've used things like Swampert, Lilligant, Maractus even. So I look forward to continuing trying it out as Series 10 continues. But yeah, let's get started. All right, getting into things here. And for this one, we've got Zacian, but they've got Torkoal, Amoonguss, Stakataka, Urshifu, and Rillaboom. Okay, interesting. So Zacian's mainly annoying because of sub. They only have one fake out user in Rillaboom. I'm honestly thinking Lilligant Torkoal here, but I guess the main thing is that Torkoal's so essential in beating Zacian, so we want to be careful about when we actually bring this out. Indeedee with Goggles here I feel like is valuable because of their Amoonguss and for terrain control. So it's probably Lilligant, Torkoal, Necrozma, and Indeedee. Psychic Seed Stack isn't that good here. I guess my only fear is without either Stack or Mienshao, I actually lack damage output into their Stakataka. If I'm my opponent, what would I lead? Rillaboom Zacian, Amoonguss Zacian? Amoonguss Zacian or Rillaboom Zacian actually is really weak into Torkoal and Lilligant. I kind of want to give Torkoal and Lilligant a shot here, because they only have one Fake Out user, and that Fake Out user is really bad into... Yeah, the Fake Out user is just really bad into Torkoal. Okay, let's try this out. I think you could make a pretty good argument for Stakataka over Indeedee for us in this game, because Stack is, like, it body presses okay damage, specifically into their Stakataka. And the thing is, by bringing Indeedee, like, it doesn't have that much offensive pressure, so, like, if I'm looking to knock out their Stakataka, I guess they do have Grass Knot on Lilligant, so that helps a little bit, but they're going to go with Rillaboom and Urshifu, okay? So turn 1, we have some interesting options. I could actually switch Torkoal out immediately into Indeedee. What that does is set up Psychic Terrain, so you can't Fake Out. I could just attack here outright, to be honest, as well, because you can only Fake Out one Pokemon here, right? And Surging Strikes isn't doing that much either. So, truth be told, I actually am fine just staying in here, I think. Especially because we can get a Grass Knot off here, and that might just be a KO. So, yeah, turn 1 Grass Knot and Heat Wave seems fine to me. They don't really need to Eruption in this position. Rilla can only Fake Out one Pokemon. We have Sash on the Lilligant as well. And now with some Urshifu's moving away from Focus Sash, there's a chance we can just KO them. And yeah, they're going to Fake Out into the Torkoal, okay. So let's see, if they're not Sashed here and we KO them, that's a huge start to the game, but they are unfortunately Sashed. Okay, that's okay though. I'm alright with that. And they're going to go for Strikes. Now, this is going to hurt, but it shouldn't KO us. Especially with Sun being up, and then we'll heal a little bit as well. Yeah, that's fine. We should survive Aqua Jet into Glide this next turn as well. So what I can do the subsequent turn is just go for After You into Heat Wave. Yeah, I think I like that a lot. I could have gone for Sleep Powder onto Urshifu turn 1, but I don't want to risk a miss there and basically get nothing from the turn, right? Because, yeah, the reality is we should survive in this position. We're Choice Specs as well, so, yep. Just going to go for After You and Heat Wave here. My only fear is missing, but I do think Heat Wave is correct over Flamethrower or Eruption. So they are going to go for Aqua Jet. Should survive that plus Glide. Oh, they're not going for Glide. Okay, cool. Okay, so we get the After You. Beautiful. We get the Specs boosted Heat Wave in the Sun, and that's a double KO. Fantastic. And the reason that's such a big deal is because now you have to bring Zacian out, and you have no way to protect that thing anymore. So this was really the perfect game for Torkoal and Lilligant. And yeah, we didn't have to take any risks in this game other than potentially missing Heat Wave there. But I don't want to go for Flamethrower in that position because yeah, it's an 81% chance to hit both Heat Waves, right? And if you hit both, you're just in such a good position. Especially because their last two are Amoonguss and Zacian. They have nothing for Torkoal in this game. Perfect. So this is why Torkoal is actually a really interesting meta call right now. Obviously, it's really slow, so it's like, okay, well, if you wanted to outspeed things, normally Trick Room is the answer. It's the primary answer, but Lilligant also works really well. And yeah, I think here... they're not Focus Sash, so after you plus Eruption here, or sorry, after you Heat Wave should just be a double KO if we hit. Your hope is to protect Zacian and then hope that I miss Heat Wave on the Amoonguss. Even if that happens, though, I can just Sleep Powder the Zacian. So then you're really hoping for a Heat Wave miss and a Sleep Powder miss, basically. Odds of that aren't exactly super slim, so we'll see. But Heat Wave does miss. Okay. That's fine. Now though, it gets really scary. I honestly wonder how much Grass Knot does into Zacian. But I think it's better to Sleep Powder here. Even if I miss Sleep Powder, I've really spoken into existence. They go for Sub though, that's fine. They're gonna Grass Knot into Torkoal. Okay, 64 down to 30. So it did 34 damage, meaning after Grassy Terrain, we should survive another one. I mean, this is what I mean, right? Props to my opponent because they played till they're only out. And like I said, the odds of what just happened aren't exactly super slim. It's the last turn of Sun here. We can Grass Knot to break the sub. And I honestly want to switch Torkoal out to get a fresh set of turns of Sun here. Oh, I guess the only problem is I don't know if Grass Knot will KO if we're getting rid of Grassy Terrain. It probably doesn't. I think I still will switch out here. There was probably a way to play around the Heat Wave and Sleep Powder misses. So with a big enough lead that we had, yeah. Trying to think where I could have improved my play a little bit, but that's okay. It happens. Like, we still have a big enough lead where it's not time to pull the I'm desperate button yet. Okay, Grassnot breaks this up. That's fantastic. Okay, that's really good. And this is where having Goggles on the Indeedee is nice in case they're sporing that slot, but you would think Blade goes into Torkoal here. Yeah, which is now Indeedee. Yeah, it doesn't actually get the KO, which is quite nice too. And they're going to Grassnot Lilligant. Okay. That's fine by me. Sunlight fades now. I feel pretty confident with the... just here now it actually gets a little bit dicey because if I miss Sleep Powder, this could turn bad real quick. Just trying to see if I can play around the Sleep Powder right now. If you're my opponent, you do threaten me with the double KO with Blade onto Lilligant. Play I want to make is switch Indeedee back out onto Torkoal and Sleep Powder. You actually can't pick up a double KO this way, yeah, because Grassnot's not KOing Torkoal, so I'm okay with this. Yeah, I think I should have thought things through a little bit more. Play around a Heat Wave into Sleep Powder miss. See if we miss this one as well. Okay, at least this one connects, but Zacian can obviously just wake up next turn, so it's still kind of scary. But this is the best example of why you play towards your outs in, you know, my opponent's position, so can't get upset at that. I actually wouldn't mind a KO here because it would give me a free switch in, but they don't get the KO. That's fine. Okay, now if you're my opponent... Is there a point in going for after you? I could always switch Lilligant out into Indeedee. We should be playing towards a Necrozma endgame, basically. I mean, after you into a Wake Up would just win us the game. Grassnot is guaranteed damage, though, onto this. Okay, I'm down to go for after you here in this position. And Heat Wave. Actually, no. We should Flamethrower here. And we should target a Amoonguss. Yeah. Because that would be a guaranteed KO. Okay. Nice, and we wake up. So that should be game over. I mean, this is why you don't tilt when you get unlucky, but this one was really scary because it looked like an easy 4-0 in 3 turns, right? And then we missed. But this is what I mean. My opponent played towards their outs. They've identified the correct plays to go for, and they identified the right win con. But in the end, Torkoal was just too strong to my opponent's team. So yeah. I'm just thinking because I can't necessarily account for my there is a chance my opponent just attacks aggressively with Zacian in that position. So I'm trying to think of a play that covers for them protecting as well as them as well as me missing. I could switch Torkoal out into Indeedee there, I guess. And Sleep Powder, that may have been better. But then I can miss Sleep Powder, they get sub up, and then things get really awkward. So, yeah. I don't know. That game was the perfect demonstration of why Torkoal Lilligant can be a little high variance, because both Heat Wave and Sleep Powder can miss. Of course, I could have clicked Eruption, but if we click Eruption, we're not KOing the Rillaboom, so that's just not worth it in that position. So that was definitely really wild. Did not play out how I expected it to. We fortunately still got the win, but... yeah, a game like that, you just have to remind yourself to not get super frustrated and not tilt off the face of the earth, because it's very easy to tilt after those couple of turns. So yeah, let's look for our next one here. Okay, and it's going to be very similar to that Guzzlord team we just used. There's actually a Ditto over Shedinja. Huh. Is this the same player? Okay, I actually have to double check, because... turns out, in the last episode, we did actually run into the same player again. And that username looks pretty similar, so if it is a rematch for the 3rd time, that would be hilarious. I just want to confirm. This is the same person. Wow, we've run into them 3 times. They're 2-0 against me so far, so I'd like revenge. And I'm guessing most of their sets are the same. Very interesting. They've got Guzzlord, though. That's scary. Not Guzzlord. And Goggle Zapdos, meaning Lilligant's going to be less effective. If I'm my opponent, I'm bringing Zapdos, Guzzlord, Groudon, Whimsicott probably. So what beats those? Necrozma plus Mienshao is actually interesting here because I can Fake Out into Trick Room or Meteor Beam. Torkoal in the back. And I'm thinking stack here. Let's try this out. I'm really excited to play this player for the third time, though. We've literally played them 3 times in the last 4 or 5 episodes. Yeah, that's wild. Cool to see them hovering so high up on the ladder as well, so kudos to them. Okay, let's see. Cool to see them replace Shedinja for Ditto. That's really interesting. That's going to be Zapdos plus Guzzlord. Fine by me, I think. What do I want to do turn 1 is the question. If I'm my opponent, I would protect Zapdos and then maybe attack with... Actually, double protect is fine because you bait out a Meteor Beam and Fake Out. And we have a Eject Pack here, so like one cool play... Oh, I do have Feint. Wait, Feint is actually really sick here. I'm honestly down to Feint and Meteor Beam in this position, I think. Yeah, it's not that high risk, because Guzzlord we know isn't that offensive. Nice. Okay, if Guzzlord protects, this is fantastic. Nice. Oh, that feels good. Okay, as long as we don't miss Meteor Beam. Please don't miss now. But this puts us in a, gives us an early lead, which is obviously great. Zapdos is just annoying to deal with on that team as well, so... Super awesome turn 1. Okay. What do I have in the back? Stack is going to be good, but Groudon's still very scary. Especially because it's specially defensive Groudon. Heat Crash is going to be scary, and I can't... Well, even if I had Intimidate, it wouldn't make a difference. But we get a KO and a +1 boost to start off the game, so that's a good start. Okay, nice. Now, obviously, in this matchup, like, we know our opponent's team. We've played against them several times, so... And we're using a new team, whereas they aren't. So it gives us a slight edge for sure, undoubtedly. I have Wide Guard here. I feel like they are not going to fall into the trap of Wide Guard and just Heat Crash. I honestly think it's fine to just Trick Room here because we've got Torkoal in the back. So I'm willing to Trick Room. I guess they can knock off Heat Crash Necrozma for a KO, and that's what scares me here. Is that enough to KO, I guess is the question. Without an item on us. How fast are we relative to Guzzlord as well is the question. We're min speed. I think I'm fine clicking Trick Room here and Close Combat. Close Combat is just a ridiculous amount of damage into Guzzlord, and it gives us a free switch in, actually. Oh, they actually switch out. Okay. Into Ditto. Ooh, nicely done. Nicely done, okay. They tomb into Mienshao. Oh, it's just now it's like, what item are you? And this is so funny, by the way. I actually get forced out with the Eject Pack. Giving me the free switch into Torkoal. To which I can Specs Eruption now. I'm just curious on the item. But even then, I don't think a Amoonguss Beam from their end is going to KO us. We now know they don't have Protect. We get Trick Room up. So I think I'm down to just Moongeist Beam into the Ditto and Eruption here. Yeah, that seems okay. Nice Ditto switch in. They actually didn't target... It was a good thing they actually Rock Tomb to Mienshao, because of Eject Pack, it actually forces us out and gives us a free switch in. So that's pretty cool. But definitely... a really strong switch there. I don't think I would have played it any differently, though, because I like the idea of just getting damage on a Guzzlord, because we actually struggle a little bit in terms of damage output into Guzzlord. But, okay, we're just going to get the Eruption off before my opponent can do anything, so that's great. It's Focus Sash Ditto. Okay. That makes a lot of sense, but we win the speed tie, so that should secure the game, I think. Because even if you Precipice Blades, Mienshao Feint might honestly just knock out the Groudon from this range. With Ditto, you're typically expecting Sash, Scarf, or Citrus, one of the 3. But you certainly have options. See if Blades actually KOs Torkoal here. No, Torkoal actually hangs on with plenty. Nice. Alright, I mean, we obviously had a really big turn 1 here. and had a really huge advantage after that. But once again, a lot of Pokemon often is information, and you know, knowing my opponent's surprises just makes the matchup easier to play out. So yeah, we're certainly fortunate in that regard. Here, I'm just going to Moongeist Beam into Guzzlord and Eruption here. We don't need to carelessly switch out, because at this point, Stakataka will hard win against Guzzlord. So all we need to do is basically get a free like knockout onto the Groudon. And at this point, Torkoal's Eruption will finish it off. We also have Mienshao for Fake Out next turn. So even if you knock something out here, that's fine. I don't remember what speed stat Guzzlord hits, honestly, so I'm curious about that. And yeah, it is actually faster. That's funny. So they're going to target Torkoal. That actually just gets rid of my specs, giving me a free Flamethrower now into Groudon. But I think that's the correct play. You hope for a KO onto the Torkoal. Even then, if I don't know if Feint's a guaranteed KO onto Groudon, I guess is the question. But you can see how good Guzzlord is into some of the Pokemon in this format, right? Like Lunala, Necrozma, and of course the main one, Calyrex Shadow Rider. Can't do much. Now I can just Flamethrower. So Moongeist Beam here. There's no reason to not Flamethrower here. Even if they get the double Protect off, we just get a free switch into Mienshao or Stack. Okay, yeah, so they end up forfeiting. So we finally get our revenge against this player, but honestly, props to them because they built, once again, one of the best teams I've seen in Series 10, and it's so unconventional relative to everything else that we've played with. So I want to give them huge props because, yeah, it felt fitting in yesterday's episode that we played against them again. I didn't even realize, but a bunch of you noted that and pointed it out. And so, yeah, it feels fitting that we lost the Master themselves. And, yeah, it's cool that they replaced the Shedinja with Ditto. That's really interesting. I do like the Shedinja a lot, but I think that, yeah, once the team becomes public and more people know about it, then, you now know that there's no ally switch to play around, so that makes it a little bit less effective. Which is why I was saying it would be interesting if you were to still use that team, but then actually add ally switch to Shedinja over Skitter Smack just to add like a lot more mind games to the mix. So yeah, some really fun ones, and let's just look for another one. Wow, this next one is wild. Zamazenta. Zapdos, Gengar, Regieleki, Cresselia, Celesteela. They don't have a single fire resist, so Torkoal's amazing here. Generally, I think we have a good matchup, but their team is also just wild, so I don't know fully what to expect. But Lilligant outspeeds max speed Regieleki if I have the sun up. So something like Lilligant Torkoal is very free here as a lead. The only question is whether or not that's actually worth it, because Torkoal's so good here that I might actually want to conserve it for the end game. So, for example, I could just go with like Necrozma instead. Something like Necrozma Indeedee, that sets up terrain. I can spam Expanding Force, and then Torkoal in the late game. I think I'm down for this. The only reason is because one, Celesteela can get access to Wide Guard, and two, if you could just like protect something, and then if you're Focus Sash on Regieleki, just Thunderbolt Torkoal. And under Trick Room, it's a lot harder for them to deal with Torkoal because I don't necessarily need to commit to Eruption. I can Flamethrower. But this is a fascinating team. I mean, lots of things that we don't see very frequently: Zamazenta, Zapdos, Gengar, Cresselia. Yeah, it's just a wild mix of stuff. So I'm just excited to see what my opponent's team has here. This is what I mean. Like, as Series 10 progresses, like, obviously, it's really easy to use Pokemon, or really easy to fit Pokemon like Rillaboom, Urshifu, Regieleki, and sit onto your team. But a format like this allows for so much creativity in team building, and, with the lack of major tournaments, people aren't just stretching their team building muscles as much, and that's natural. Like, that's one of the reasons why I personally haven't built many teams, just in general. With the lack of major events, it's just like, you're not as motivated to try to innovate, and push the meta forward as much as you would, say, if tournaments were around. So it's going to be Gengar plus Zamazenta, which I'm fine with. I guess the only interesting thing here is if Gengar actually has Trick Room itself. So truth be told, turn 1, I kind of want to just go for a Follow Me into an Expanding Force. And even if they don't have Trick Room, like, it's fine. Expanding Force is just pretty strong for us here, so yeah, I'm down to just Follow Me Expanding Force. I feel like this matchup is really favorable, so maybe it's it's giving me a false sense of security, perhaps, and I'm not sure I love that. But that being said, like I said, we could have just led Torkoal Lilligant here and already been in good shape. I think Zamazenta might actually get access to Wide Guard. I don't remember that off the top of my head. It is more supported than Zacian. But I also want to scout out for that. Actually, because of the Wide Guard threat, I guess they could just Wide Guard out right here, but that would be kind of surprising. Corrosive Gas. Wow. Okay. I have never seen that before. Ever. That's literally my first time seeing the move, I think. But, like, that's a great turn 1 for us, right? I mean, I get a knockout there, and they basically get nothing off. There was Focus Sash there as well, so yeah, not surprising. Okay, well, I'm just gonna Trick Room now, I think. How long does gas last for? Is it permanent? Does it actually get rid of the item, or is it... Oh, it actually just gets rid of the item. Fascinating. Okay. Well, I'm down to Trick Room here and Follow Me this turn. And the reason I'm down to Trick Room now is because I've scouted them out a little bit on turn 1. Corrosive Gas, that's fascinating. And Gengar obviously can't hit Indeedee with damage here. Maybe it has Taunt. Sludge Wave, wow. This is certainly a really cool team. Love to try it out, honestly. Okay, they poison Necrozma, that's fine. Double poison, not bad, not bad. But anyway, I feel like we're still in great shape right now. I get the Torkoal win for free. I could just spam my fire type attacks. That doesn't even KO Indeedee, cool. So I can actually even heal myself up this next turn. Although, to be honest, in a position like this, we actually prefer Indeedee to Faint because it gives us a free switch in. A free switch in is super good for our Torkoal in the back. 31 down to 9, so we took 22. So yeah, we'll obviously Faint from another one. I'm down to just Moongeist Beam here. And Psyshock. It feels okay. I mean, maybe I should heal up. That might be a little bit smarter. But with Torkoal in the back. The alternative is like an Expanding Force here. And Heal Pulse. Okay, that works for me. Covers for switch-ins. They do have Wide Guard. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so yeah, I like got a little bit greedy thinking they wouldn't Wide Guard because of how last turn played out. That actually will mean a potential Shadow Ball into Necrozma. So yeah, this was me just getting greedy and assuming they didn't have Wide Guard when I saw, like, because Substitute came out turn 1 and then they didn't Wide Guard on turn 2. And they did have Trick Room! Oh my goodness. This is actually really wild. Both of the things I mentioned actually existed, but I was just thrown off so much by how the game started. That is fascinating. Okay. I actually have to adapt my game plan substantially now because of that. I'm going to switch Necrozma out now into Torkoal and Grass Knot the Gengar. Necrozma or Torkoal switching in will easily survive a bash. Wow, what a team. So this is what I meant, right? If I let Lilligant Torkoal turn 1, if I get baited into After You Eruption, they could just Sludge Wave us immediately. So this is, like, even though it looks good on paper, my opponent actually had some really cool solutions here. Moongeist Beam and Psyshock would have just picked up the double KO and would have denied them reversing Trick Room. So last turn was just a very big misplay where, like, I got greedy thinking they didn't have Wide Guard. What a fascinating team, though. And they played, yeah, like, really nicely done. We had an early lead, so honestly it was on me to make a mistake. But my opponent found the right play. Go for another sub. That's okay. Double poison was funny to see as well, because that gave my opponent the opportunity to make that play. Whereas, like, because you know Indeedee's fainting after the turn. And I think if we lose this, it is kind of inexcusable in the sense that I even saw the main things I was worried about, which was Wide Guard and Trick Room. And then, like, that turn, I just, like, kind of fell into a false sense of security thinking they didn't have it because I just thought it would have been logical for them to go for that earlier on in the matchup in the first 2 turns. So then I was like, they probably don't have it. But that being said, there's really no reason to play the way I did there. Like, Moongeist Beam plus Psyshock is super safe there. They would have denied them reversing Trick Room. It would have probably just won us the game, quite frankly. But that's fine. Here I want to just Flamethrower and After You, but they could obviously protect Celesteela. Oh my goodness, there's so many mind games actually now. I think I'm going to go for it. They are playing so well. Oh my goodness. And because I'm choice specs, I can't just commit to Heat Wave or Eruption there. What a fascinating game. I'm gonna go for Bash, presumably targeting Lilligant, and switch Lilligant out this next turn. And the thing is, I have to respect Meteor Beam Celesteela as well, right? So it's like if I don't target it, I'm actually at risk of just fainting. Yeah, and if I went for After Eruption, then things would get pretty dicey. Now, you could switch Celesteela out. Truth be told, the play I want to make is Flamethrower Zamazenta and protect Lilligant. But if they are Meteor Beam and I just go for that, they could literally just win the game. So then the question is, even in the worst case in which Celesteela switches out, what's coming in? We already know Focus Sash was on Gengar. Nothing can really take Specs Flamethrower that well in their end. So I think I'm willing to just go for it. Props to my opponent though, like turns 1 and 2, yep, there's the switch. What is it? It's Cresselia. That's probably the worst thing for us to run into, but I think it's still okay, because the thing is now with Necrozma and Torkoal, we're in okay shape. That did not do very much though. I think Substitute's actually the move I struggled against the most with while playing with this team. In a couple practice games, I ran into Sub, Zacian, and Lando on the same team, and it gave me a lot of issues. Yeah, so you can see if I made the Protect plus Flamethrower play, then the next turn I can just go after you. This team is wild. Corrosive Gas, that's such a cool attack. The key thing to note in this game, though, is if I had just gone for the Moongeist Beam Psyshock play that I was talking about, instead of getting baited into thinking my opponent didn't have the moves I was worried about. Like, they literally needed both Wide Guard and Trick Room that turn for it to play out, but they conserved it really well, and it paid off, right? So, really cool. Okay, we can just Flamethrower. I might just Moongeist Beam here. Actually, I think the play is to double up onto Zama here. Because Cresselia is not really a threat to us. Ooh, they have Helping Hand. Okay, does that KO? I don't think it should. Even if it doesn't, though. This is going to be a close one. Props to my opponent, because I thought this matchup was really heavily favored towards us, but they did have enough tricks to, like, catch me off guard. Okay, Necrozma does survive. This is where those early poisons are really unfortunate. Like, if it now comes down to how fast both Cresselia and Celesteela are. And whether or not it's Meteor Beam Celesteela with Power Herb, which I feel like it is, given that it's not AV. Well, hard to say. Had I gone for Moongeist Beam Flamethrower here and split my damage, maybe we KO Cresselia, but Zamazenta is really the main offensive threat on my opponent's team right now. Okay, I don't know how fast like, Cresselia normally doesn't have Protect, and Torkoal, if it's not Meteor Beam, will win against the Celesteela. But this game's on me just playing a little bit carelessly, honestly. And that's the thing, that's why every turn in Pokemon matters, no matter how good your matchup is. You have to execute properly. My execution here wasn't amazing, because I kind of got greedy thinking my opponent didn't have 2 moves I expected them to have because they didn't use it earlier on. But that's bad logic, right? Like, just because they didn't reveal doesn't mean they're not going to have it. Anyway, so now we can just Flamethrower. Actually, like, doubling up onto Cress here, because I could see them trying to protect Celesteela, and it covers for Cresselia surviving. Helping Hand. Uh-oh. That should be Meteor Beam then. Oh, it could be Air Slash, actually. Okay, it is Meteor Beam, yeah. This is why I had to go for Helping Hand after you Flamethrower earlier, but they played the endgame perfectly. So now they're hoping to not miss. If they miss, they'll lose. It is going to connect, though. Yeah, well played. What a cool team, honestly. What a cool team. I can't even be sad about that. And like I said, I can clearly identify where the mistake was. But this, like, my opponent did validate a lot of the things I was talking about, right? Like, Lilligant and Torkoal looks really good on paper, but it doesn't actually work out that well because they have Wide Guard on Zama and Focus Sash on Gengar, and the item on Gengar, as well as Trick Room. So, yeah, that's not exactly the best solution. Cress would have survived anyway, but yeah. Double Poison was cool to see. Sludge Waves really neat to see as well. And it was mainly Wide Guard, because had I just Psyshocked that turn and gone for Moongeist Beam, we would have just KO'd Gengar. They wouldn't have been able to reverse Trick Room, and then the Necrozma should just sweep under Trick Room. So this was one in which, like, we had a really good start, but my opponent found the perfect way to get back into the game, and this is the slight downside of using a team that's a little bit more reliant on Trick Room. And I should have thought about that a little bit more, like thinking about the fact that Trick Room would actually get reversed. I just really thought it would come out on turn 1, but I guess at that point my opponent's not even 100% confident I'm going to click Trick Room quite yet in the battle, right? So yeah. This is why, like, yeah, especially if you're using hard Trick Room, think about the worst case scenario as much as you can, because yeah, like that turn I just completely botched up and got a little bit greedy there. So yeah, that's definitely one of the most innovative teams I've seen. Really interesting Gengar set, sub wide guard bash Zamazenta is really cool as well. And I do think had we just denied Gengar the Trick Room that turn, it should just be game over, because then I just get a free switch into Torkoal, and then Torkoal and even if, and they would have revealed Wide Guard at that point, so then I would just click Flamethrower with Torkoal, and they had no switch into Flamethrower. So the main thing here is that, yeah, like, we needed to attack under Trick Room, not outside of Trick Room. And then, like, I felt forced to bring Lilligant in first over Torkoal, because then, like, the dynamic of it got kind of awkward. So, yeah, but that was a really cool team, and my opponent played towards their outs. I think, like, today's episode is a good example of playing towards your outs where, you know, no one really gave up fully until the game was like 100% over, and they were able to identify really good plays that could keep them in the battle. And in that one, they completely turned the tides around 180. So yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thanks so much as always for watching. Really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, please show support by leaving a like. Don't forget to check out the team down in the description below. Answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. All right. Peace.